ladies and gentlemen. Joe with Jonose Cigars. Got to give a Humidor tour for 2020. And I'm really excited about this particular one because, as you can see, I've got a much bigger Humidor than I have in years past. The story behind this, my local grocery store chain, for whatever reason, whether they're trying to be politically correct or woke or whatever BS they want to call it, had decided they are ceasing all tobacco sales. And that includes cigarettes, vaping, pipe tobacco, and of course, premium cigars. And this particular grocery chain had, in almost every store, one of these cabinets. And wouldn't you know, I got this one for next to nothing when they decided they were no longer going to sell them anymore. So, I get to show you a brand new Humidor tour with a hell of a lot more sticks than I've had in years past because I've got the space now. So let's dive right in and see what I've got in this Humidor cabinet. Well, as you can see, this thing can actually hold whole boxes of cigars at a time, of which I have, of course, taken advantage of that. It did come with this automatic humidification system. You just pour distilled water in it and it just continuously blows a steady stream of humidity to keep it at the right level of humidity. I keep a number of hygrometers in this cabinet to measure the humidity on multiple levels of the cabinet so as to ensure it's getting optimum circulation. And as I'm sure you can see, there are a few scuffs on this. This was actually, secondhand. Had been used in the stores for some time before they got rid of it. So let's go ahead and open it up and show you what I've got inside. Ah, it smells good. So I've got a bunch of boxes on all the top shelves, but out here on the bottom, I've got these cedar racks that I got on Amazon and just filled them with all the singles that didn't come in boxes. So let's start with these guys. So this is all the shelves all laid out. Let's go over each little rack individually to show you the different shelves of cigars I've got in these little cedar racks. Okay, so rack number one. This is primarily just big name brands things. So things like H. Upmann, non-Cuban H. Upmanns, stuff like the Banker and the Vintage Cameroon cigars that I come back to pretty regularly. Some Macanudo, Gran Puro Poco Gordos, some Romeo and Julieta 505s. There's a few Monte Cristo Nicaragua series, and one that I really like, the Espada. I'm going to have to review this sooner or later. It's just a great stick. So Monte Cristo Montes, just standard Monte Cristo Churchills, and here's another one of those Poco Gordos. For some reason it's over there. And a couple of leftover Punch Rare Corojos. Just some big name sticks right here, and ones that I do periodically come back to. Next rack, we've got, this is a bunch of Liguria Cubana, a lot of series R, and a couple of series N. I also have some Kamacho triple Ligueros, some EP Carrillo, which also happens to make the Liguria Cubana line. The EP Carrillo Inch Maduros, love those sticks. Couple of these Joya de Nicaragua Cabinetas from the Joya line. Really enjoyed that stick when I reviewed it last year. Some Aroba de Cuba Mi Amores. Really love that stick. And a couple, I'm not sure where I got these. I think they may have just come from a random sampler. Some La Polina Black Label sticks. Actually have never smoked this one before. Just had a couple in here from some random sampler I had and haven't gotten around to smoking it yet. Alright, so that's that rack. Moving over, this is the Avo rack. So you see I've got a lot of Avo sticks, some Avo Heritages, some Avo Classics, and some Avo Synchro Nicaraguas. Love these particular sticks. All the Avo lines are super solid. I bought one of these 30th Anniversary Churchill size. I really have to do, I want to do a written review on this one because it just looked really intriguing. I like all things Avo, and I haven't had this one before, so probably be looking for that sometime in the next few months. Of course, I've got still a bunch of the Foundation Tabernacle Havana Seed. Really enjoyed this stick. Featured it during Foundation Month, and just love it. The only drawback I've ever had with these is every now and then you have a somewhat tight draw, but beyond that, just an all-around great stick. Over here we got a couple of my favorites, the Sobremesa by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. Can't get enough of those cigars. I'm going to have to buy a box sooner or later just because I'm almost out. Got a couple of these Island Gems by Oscar. A really interesting looking cigar. It's got a shag foot. It's got a two-tone wrapper towards the cap, pencil shape at the top. Really cool beach bum-esque sort of label for the Island Gem. Really enjoyed that stick. I have had it a couple times, and it is delicious. A little hard to find, but one of the shops in my local area had them in stock, so I picked up a couple. Has some Illusione Epernay. Haven't actually had that one yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I'll probably be doing one of those as a written review. So that's all of that cedar shelf. Moving on, we've got some random Arturo Fuente sticks. Let's see here. Yeah, we got some with the Royal Salutes here. Actually did a review of that last year. Some still left over of the Work of Art in the Hemingway line. A few left over from the Protocol cigars that were sent to me last year. Thank you again, Juan Cancel, for sending me those. Got a couple of Sir Robert Peel left, and I think I have one of the official misconduct. Yeah, one official misconduct. Smoked all of the Sir Robert Peel Maduros and all of the Themuses. Really enjoyed those. Over here we've got a few by Aganorsa Leaf, the JFR Lunatic. Really enjoyed that powerhouse cigar. Of course, one of my favorites from this past year, the Guardian of the Farm, the original Guardian of the Farm. Really enjoyed those cigars. And I think that's it for that cedar shelf. Moving on to this one, this is the Rocky Patel shelf, as you can see. A lot of different, I'm going to turn this around so you can actually see it a little better. Rocky Patel 15th anniversary, some of the dark Dominicans, some of the vintage 1979s. Cellophane makes it a little hard to read, but yeah, it's the vintage 1979. Some of the original Sun-Growns, which are still one of my favorite Rocky Patels. And of course, we do have a couple of the Sun-Grown Maduro, another great entry by Rocky Patel. And of course, we also have a bunch of the 20th anniversary fine stick. Fine stick. Nice dark wrapper leaf with box pressed. Rocky Patel does a lot of box pressed sticks, if you haven't noticed by now. Really enjoy all of those, so I keep a pretty good amount of those in the humidor. Next over here, we've got some kind of an eclectic bunch of cigars. We got a bunch of the 660 Flatheads by CAO. Some of these by Padilla. These are the La Pilar number 4. Pretty decent cigar. Perdomo Lot 23. Really enjoy that one. And then just some standard 1000 series Padron Churchills. Really fantastic smoke for a very inexpensive price as far as Padron's concerned. And in this section of the tray, we've got some of the Room 101 Farce in Connecticut and some Series G Churchills by Oliva. Both fantastic cigars. Moving on to the next tray, we've got a bunch of aging rooms. We got the Aging Room Original Quattro, and then we have the Aging Room Quattro in Maduro. We've got a bunch of the Aging Room Nicaragua, which was the cigar of the year for this past year. I'm going to eventually have to sort of review this one, I think. I'm sure a lot of people will be interested to see my thoughts. Never actually had this one before, so I'll be interested to see what I think. Got some Oliva Series 3, or Master Blends 3 in Churchill. Really enjoyed that cigar. And then we've got some Lafleur Dominicana, some Airbenders, and some Double Ligueros. Both are fantastic cigars. And some of the Plasencia Cosecha 146. Did a review of these back during Plasencia month. Really enjoyed it. Check it out if you haven't done so already. And lastly in this tray is all my father sticks. So you got a bunch by my father and Jaime Garcia, basically the same factory. We've got a bunch of the La Bijou 1922s, some La Duenas. I know I've got some Judges in there somewhere. Where are they? Yeah, here they are. Here are the Judges right up there. Regular Jaime Garcias, La Antigüedad, La Gran Oferta. And I think that's it as far as my father. All of those are ones that I thoroughly enjoy. I've got a lot of the La Bijou 1922 because they're just so good. And yeah, all of these cigars are what I keep. These are the non-box entries that I have in the humidor. And then you'll notice that I have this one giant box. This was an A.J. Fernandez box, the Reconquista by Ave Maria. Ave Maria is one of A.J. Fernandez's boutique lines. And it's just an enormous box because it came with 12 of the Reconquista cigars, but they were all in individual wood coffins. Well, they were taking up a lot of space. So I didn't keep them in the coffins. I actually wanted them to age a little bit better than just keeping them in coffins. So I took them out, and boy, this box had a lot of space. So I just put all the stuff that I was AJ Fernandez related that I could into this box. So you got some of the Bellas Artes original, some of the San Lotano Connecticut, San Lotano Maduro, Ave Maria Lionheart, Ave Maria Reconquista. I think I've got one New World left here. Yeah, one New World. A bunch of the A.G. Fernandez Enclaves, which I really enjoyed. That was a surprisingly good stick. You have one random diesel barrel-aged, bourbon barrel-aged cigar. This is actually a pretty good barrel-aged cigar. As far as the barrel-aged cigars go, this is probably my favorite that I've had to date. And then we've got a couple of Manowar Armadas, a fantastic super full-bodied cigar. Some of these Manowar just standard Salamones, really fantastic blend, that one. And then my favorite probably in this whole box is the Ramon Allones in Churchill. Really enjoyed that stick, and I'm going to have to do an A.J. Fernandez month sooner or later. As you can see, I've got a lot by A.J. Fernandez because I like what he does, and yeah, we're going to have to get into one of these brands sooner or later. So this is all that I've got in the bottom part of the humidor. Let's start moving on to the rest of the cabinet. And I also, underneath this part of the cabinet, right here in the bottom drawer, I keep a bunch of the Privadas Cigar Club exclusive cigars down in here, with the addition of a bag of an assortment of Cuban cigars that I'm aging for about a year before I even try to smoke them. Keep them kind of separated in a plastic bag so as to not mingle flavors with all the other cigars that are non-Cuban. Probably my favorite cigar from this past last year. Yeah, it's the Paul Stulak Red Screaming Sun Lancero. Check those out if you haven't smoked one yet. And then, of course, we got another by Paul Stulak, a Cult, an Illusione Ultra, a couple by HBC, and a few of the Kamacho pre-embargo sticks. These are, what's interesting about these is this actually does have Cuban long fillers, not just Cuban seeds. They actually is tobacco leaves from Cuba. It make up the long filler of this particular cigar. And much like regular Cuban cigars, they don't smoke all that great when you first get them. You have to let them age. I smoked these once when I first got them after about a month in the humidor, was underwhelmed, and then smoked one a year later and was blown away. So all accounts point to the fact that if you buy Cuban cigars, do not anticipate smoking them for at least 8 months, probably more closer to a year before you even start lighting them up, because they just don't age cigars in Cuba the way they do in other places. So user beware. Moving on, we already covered those. First shelf of boxes. Of course, got a box of the Crown Heads Juarez. Love that cigar. It is one that I'm always surprised by how good it is every time I light it up. It's just fantastic. Incredible performance, wonderful smoke output, thoroughly enjoyable, full-bodied flavors. Just love it. And then, of course, we've got the Joya de Nicaragua Antaño. One of the reasons why I buy this cigar by the box, not only is it just that good of a cigar, it is box worthy, but it's also super affordable, much like the Juarez. Both of these boxes you can get for under 80 bucks if you wait for the right sales, and I did, of course. And these are boxes of 20. These are not, these are not just half boxes of 10 or anything. You can get these for under $80 for a box of 20. Fantastic value. The other box that I have on this particular shelf, kind of behind the other two, is a box of the Manowar Ruination Warhorse, which is a Perfecto stick. This is a box of 10, and these I'm kind of letting age for a while before I even smoke them. I've had these before, and I love them, but I'm really interested to see how these do after some time in the humidor. So I'm going to let them go for at least probably 8 or 9 months before I smoke them. These just came in last month, so yeah, won't be smoking those for a while, which is why I kind of have them in the back, lid propped open to get that humidity in there. Alright, that's that shelf. Moving up. This is the shelf that has the humidification system in it. You can hear it running, of course. It's a pretty old as far as technology is concerned. You can't, tap into it to monitor its performance on your phone. It's not that good, but it does the job. And believe me, when I don't pay, $1,000 for a cabinet with humidification system, I'm pretty happy, because so long as it gets the job done, that's all I'm really worried about. And then over here we've got a few boxes. There is actually one more cedar tray up here because I can't fit it on the shelf below. It's just not enough room. But we got a lot of good stuff in this one. We got a bunch of the Southern Draw Cedrus, probably my favorite of the Southern Draw line. We've got a couple of the Wise Man Maduros, fantastic stick. The Long Live the King by Caldwell. Some Tatuaje tattoos. Some random Romacross that are still left over. I got a Neanderthal. One of those nice barber pole Cro-Magnon Aquitaines. Haven't had that one yet. Looking forward to it. Still have some Cro-Magnon Aquitaines left over. And I have this random, well, a couple randoms. La Imperiosa by Crown Heads. One of my favorite by Crown Heads. I'm not sure if I like that one more than the Juarez or not, or the La Coalición. It's hard to tell. And then I do have a couple of these Black Label Trading Company Morphine Lanceros still in here. Really enjoy that stick. I only have a couple left. I'm going to have to start ordering some more soon. Uh-oh. Alright, so that's the first on that second shelf. I also have a Alec Bradley box. It's not all the same stuff. I've got some of the Tempest Naturals still left, a couple of the Sanctums left, a couple of the Black Market Estelis, and a couple of the Prinzados. Just keep all the Alec Bradleys in one place. I also have a box of the Norteño Bellicoso Finos. These are another one that just age remarkably well. This is one that you can get on an incredible deal. This cost me 30 bucks. Box of 10, 30 bucks. That's right. $3 a cigar for a damn good smoke. And while these are fantastic when they come fresh, they are overwhelmingly good when they have aged for a year. And these are about a year old. I smoked one the other day during a poker night and was just so happy with how that one turned out. Last box on this shelf is one of my all-time personal favorites, the Oliva Series V Melanio, and I got a couple of different sizes in here. One doesn't have I took a wrapper leaf off of that for, I think, my frame display. But the rest of these are the little Figurados, and a couple of the Double Toros, which is the 6x60. Oh, fantastic smokes. Just love them. Was probably the first full-bodied cigar I ever had when I really knew what I was doing as far as enjoying cigars, and it's still one that I come back to. Still a perennial favorite. Love them to death, and as soon as I run out of these, you know I'm going to be buying another box. Alright, so put all those back. Alright, next shelf up here, we've got a box of this Oliva Connecticut Reserve, one of my favorite morning time smokes. A whole box of the Monte Cristo Espada Oscuros. These are, I have a hard time going back and forth between the original Espada and the Espada Oscuro. They're both fantastic. They both perform similarly. They're both well-constructed sticks. And it's just kind of a palate preference as far as which flavor profile I go more. Obviously these are going to have darker, more earthier, a little spicier. Ironically, usually the more Maduro wrap cigars aren't always spicy, but this one is spicier than the original Espada. And so yeah, I just bought a box of these. Have a written review done of it, just haven't posted it yet, so I'll be looking for that soon. And then I've got a box here of Lafleur Dominicana Chapter 1. Really enjoy these cigars. Just the craftsmanship of anything by Lafleur Dominicana is always just astounding to me. Just astounding. Really, really enjoy everything that they make. And this is no exception. And these are just thoroughly oily. I'm not sure how well you can pick up the oily sheen off of these from the camera, but man, they're just the glossiest, most delicious looking sticks. And they taste pretty good too. It's actually a cigar that I've reviewed one of, I think, the first year of reviews that I did. And then back here, behind this box, I do have one box, another Ave Maria. Wouldn't you know, another A.J. Fernandez product. This is the Argentum. One of my favorite sticks by A.J. Fernandez. And this was a full box. I only have half of it left. It was a box of 10. These little, they call them Morning Stars. It's just a short Perfecto, tapered at both ends. Really delicious stick. and it's one that I do smoke fairly often, hence the box. And I think that is it for this shelf. Let's put this back in there. Keep the box lids open, let them breathe, and let's move up to the next shelf. All right, next shelf up, we've got a box of the Bellas Artes in Maduro. I like the original Bellas Artes, but this one was just truly special. Did a written review of this one. Really enjoy this cigar. That's why I buy a box. And yeah, just what a nice looking box too. Just love the graphic work on these things. AJ Fernandez has nice looking boxes. Really enjoy those. Fantastic cigars. Speaking of nice looking boxes, we've got one of another perennial favorite, and that is the EP Carrillo La Historia in E3. Beautiful stick in its own right. One of those few cigars that I've given a 5 puff score on. Love the box work on it. It's just this beautiful red cherry wood finish. Just absolutely great craftsmanship on this. And it's one that another one that's relatively affordable for a box. I mean, you get a box of 10 for under I got it for under 80 bucks. So not a bad price for a cigar that is a 5 puff cigar, in my opinion. Definitely up there. Easily could have been a cigar of the year. It did finish number 2 in 2014, second to the Oliva series Vimalanio back in 2014. So not a bad stick to have in my humidor, and it's one that I'll probably always have in my humidor. And the last shelf on this humidor is this top one, of course. So we've got the Tatuaje Avian. I think you've seen me feature that in my top 10 of 2019 list. Fantastic blend. Already talked about how much I enjoy the cigar in that video, but bought a box of those because they're just that good. Got a box of the Macanudo Vintage 1997 in Maduro. Very interesting looking box. What's really cool about these is, if you haven't had one before, each one of these cigars, let's see if I can take this tray out so you can see what they look like, come in boxes of 12. And they all have these metal cigar bands on each of the cigar. It's pretty impressive. Not sure how they're always able to afford that, but there is a metal ring on every last one of these cigars in this box. And they're not cheap thin metal too. They are very heavy duty stainless steel real rings. And the last box I have on the humidor is the Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust Todos los Dias in Robusto. My favorite by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. I know that might be a controversial position to hold. I think a lot of people are really into the Mi Querida Triqui Traca right now and the Silver Mesa Brulee. But this is one I love. This is the one that really does it for me. So I had to buy a box, and I know I'm going to enjoy it. And even when I finish, I'm going to buy another box. Maybe two. Maybe two. And then the last part of this humidor is one last little drawer, and that is basically where I keep all the really, really expensive sticks. So I'm just going to bring it right over to the table so I don't drop it while I'm filming it. That would be a disaster. And as you can see, we've got a bunch of Davidoffs. A couple of these were Christmas gifts from my brother-in-law. We got a Davidoff Anniversario and a small batch and a Year of the Rat. A bunch of the 702 series, I think 4 of those, 3 of the Millenniums, a couple of the Winston Churchill Late Hour, and then we've got a bunch, well, just a couple of the Lost City, Opus X Lost Cities. That's a 2017 edition. And then we've got a bunch by Padron in here. Let me get this focus in here a little better. There we go. Got a bunch of the Padron Damasos. Really enjoyed that stick. Fantastic morning, very luxurious morning time cigar. A bunch of the series 1964 anniversary series in Bellicoso in Maduro. I've got a couple of really expensive ones here. The 85 year in Maduro, 1964. We've got one of the 80 years in 1926 series. This was one of the most expensive cigars I ever purchased, but I got it at a pretty good deal, so I was very happy when I found it. And I've got one of the 1964 series in Maduro Pyramids. Bought this a while ago, so it's probably ready to smoke and would be in prime condition. And then over here we've got got one more of the Plasencia Alma Fuerte. Couple of the, we've got one Ashton ESG, another Ashton Heritage Churchill, one Arturo Fuente Añejo Reserva. Couple by, there's another Padron 1926, number 1, I believe. And then got one more of a Zeno Scepter series, and then, or Zeno Platinums rather. This is actually a Symmetry, Ashton Symmetry. Just took the band off for the art project I was doing. And then I do still have one last cigar. This is the Grand Habano Vintage 2002 in Churchill. This was the very first cigar I ever reviewed for the channel. So I keep one last cigar from that line in this humidor. It was one of the more lower rated cigars I've ever reviewed. I think I only gave it 3.5 puffs. But it's got sentimental value to me, so I hold on to the last one. I did put the label on my poster, which is why it doesn't have its label on it anymore. You'll see a couple of cigars in my collection that just are missing their cigar bands, and that's why, because I wanted to put together this little poster together for some little artwork. So, yeah, that is the conclusion of my humidor tour. So yeah, there you go. Humidor tour for 2020. As I'm sure you see, I buy a lot of cigars. I smoke a pretty good amount of cigars, and I know this collection is going to change over time, so I'll be doing a humidor tour as always, first month of every year so long as the channel exists. So thanks so much for joining me for the third Jonose Cigars humidor tour, this time for 2020. Hope you all stay warm, continue to have a great winter, smoke a good one.